beautiful day, enjoying your family and celebrating the resurrection of Christ. Today I want to give you a little bit of an update, a weekly update. We finally have some good weather. It's been cold and rainy for a good part of the week this week. We did have one day that had a little bit of good weather, but I didn't really have a chance to get in the garden because just running around and work and kids and running errands and everything everywhere. So today I want to give you a little video that we started last weekend. We were putting the fence up around our garden so that it keeps the chickens out and other such critters like rabbits that are coming out, chickens, my dogs, Agnes and Sassy. And so let's see, I'll show you a little bit of what that looked like. Alright, this evening we are working on the fence here in the garden. We're laying out our fencing material, which is pretty much, it's a garden fence that is, it's like snow fence, but this is green, so it looks a little nicer than the orange snow fence. But as you can see, we put fence posts up all the way around the garden, and then we run this fence around it. So we've gotten all our holes fixed. This is probably the last year for this fencing material, and then we'll get new. And then once we get it up and all twined in place, I'll show you what it looks like. Well, we've got the fence halfway up, but now it's time to go in and make dinner. So we'll come back out after this is finished, or after dinner's finished, and finish the rest of this fence. All right, so here is the garden in the rough. Basically, we put the fence around, like I said, and over here we are going to be building a new garden bed. Now, last year we threw a bunch of manure on this. When we emptied out our grow pots for the year, we threw that dirt on there. We threw a bunch of plants that we pulled out, we threw that on there to kind of create some good dirt in that area for putting a bed in this year, getting the ground ready. And then we covered it with some old plywood that we had that wasn't any good, and we have the boards for it. We just didn't finish the garden beds, so we will be pulling those boards off the top, putting the frame around, and then this is where this is going to be a great big tomato bed. Now on, I think it was Wednesday, I was actually able to finish putting the top line around the fence so that it makes it more stable. We get so much wind around here that if we don't run some twine along with our fence, the fence gets really saggy and bows down and ends up not being very good. Also doesn't look very good. But I'll show you what that line looks like. As you see, what we do is we just kind of tie it off, and then we weave it around through to each T-post. We go around the T-post a couple times and then just keep weaving all the way down and all the way around the fence. So we have that part of the fence up all the way around. Today I was going to have the kids do the bottom row, but the grass is so wet and they were just having so much fun playing on the trampoline. I just didn't want to make them come over here and do that, but we will get that done this next week. We're supposed to have some great weather. So we're going to do a little bit of a garden update so I can show you what I have planted. Like I said, I had that one day this week where the weather was good and I was able to run out during a little bit of a break during the day and get some things planted. So as you can see, I planted some of my lettuces. They are just starting to do their thing. This is the red variety. I can't remember if it's red sails or, yeah, I think it's red sails lettuce. And then this is black seeded Simpson. Now we had rain for 2 days, so the little plants are beat down a little bit, but they'll come back and send up new growth. You can see that actually right here, the older leaves that were on the plant from being in the greenhouse, and then this is the new ruffly one that it's sending up. So all of them will do that. We also have some red Russian kale planted, in this bed. Here you can see it, and it, like I said, it's sending up new little shoots as well. We're gonna come over here, and yes, please excuse the weeds. It's too wet to mow or weed eat right now. Today I planted some onions, and the big trick about onions is you just plant their roots. You don't want the bulb going into the ground too much, because then it's going to stop the growth of the bulb. It'll just be like a big green onion. It won't really grow as far as making a nice big bulb. So I've got several rows of those, and those are Walla Walla onions. And then here's the peas. They're doing pretty well. I could probably take this chicken fence off of here. We'll pull that back so you can see the peas a little better. I did replant this garden with peas, so we may end up with a bunch of little peas coming up. There are two different kinds of peas that I planted. One kind is called Magnolia Tendril, and the other is a yellow pod pea. So not sure which ones are coming up, but it'll be exciting to see. Now, nobody in my family likes peas except for me, which is okay. I am mainly planting them because I want to see the pretty flowers and have them climb, and then I'll get a few pods off of them to eat and put in a stir fry or something like that. So that'll be fine. But like I said, I just like to have the pretty flowers in the garden. It gives the bees something to be attracted to. In years past, I've had a lot of trouble with really having pollinators in my garden, even though I grow organically. And since we live pretty much in a pasture that's full of flowers, I need to put some plants in here that will actually attract the bees and the other pollinators, so that way I'm not having to hand pollinate so much. Something else I really enjoy doing is getting these false barrels. They are actually plastic. They're not a wooden whiskey barrel or anything, but I love planting plants in these, and they last forever. And like at Rural King, I want to say they're like $12 or $13. They're super cheap, and they last a really long time, and they hold a lot. In this one, I have planted Swiss chard. Again, like I said, I have the lettuces over in this one over here. And this one here, I've put two different kinds of kale, the dinosaur kale and the red Russian kale. And then in this bed, we have more onions planted. And again, those are Walla Wallas. Now this bed will have more added to it, so some of these onions will come out as green onions, but for now, we're just having onions in this bed. Well, I did a lot of weeding today in the beds and kind of turning over the top layer of soil. We also planted some potatoes. We plant Kennebec potatoes. I've done other varieties in the past, but I find that I really like the Kennebec the best. They come in as a nice big white potato, and then I don't have to really worry about little bitty ones. They really seem to grow the best for us, so that's all I just got today in the beds. Now, I want to show you these beds that I have. These round beds are perfect, especially if you're somebody who needs to save space and wants to have something that also looks unique in your garden. If you're wanting to give a neat design to it, these are fire rings. I have 1, 2, 3, 4 fire rings in my garden, and these are perfect for planting potatoes, or we've planted onions in them before. We've planted tomatoes. This year we're going to be putting potatoes in them, and then we're going to put green beans in them after that, which works out great because here in Indiana I have trouble growing green beans earlier in the summer. They work best if I plant them kind of midsummer. I get a much better harvest, and I don't have to worry about my beans rotting in the ground before it gets warm enough and dry enough for them to be able to take off. The last thing we're going to do today is we are going to be putting some coffee grounds in our garden beds. Now, what we do is we like to put coffee grounds in the bed because it just helps along with the mulching and the composting and just making our dirt better. we go to Starbucks and they have an area inside the store that's called Grounds for Gardens. And what they do is they take their spent coffee grounds, put them in bags, and then they put them in that bin, and they're free to anyone who wants them. They make great compost for in your garden. You want to put just a light layer, not a ton in there, but it's something that just helps with the composting and just creating nice rich soil. So what we're going to do today... Open up our bag of coffee grounds. Actually, there's already a hole. And see, they're even in little round, almost cookie shapes. The bag smells amazing. But what we do is we just take them and crumble them around the garden. I'm going to get the kids to help me to do the rest of this. But you can even use your own coffee grounds from your kitchen. We just like to, you know, reuse as much stuff as we possibly can. And going to Starbucks and getting their grounds keeps them from having so much garbage. Yeah, so it's just that simple. We just put it on there and then it'll just mix in with the dirt and just keep going to give us better and better dirt. Now in this area over here, I extended the garden this year, and we are going to be putting down weed barrier along with some tires. We're going to put pumpkins in and do that. I'll bring you guys along later on this week to show you how we do that, because we're going to be headed into Lowe's or Menards or something this weekend, or not this weekend, this coming week, to be picking up that stuff and coming out here and getting it all set up for when we want to grow pumpkins. And I think I'm going to put our squashes in them this time too. Thank you all so much for spending some time with me in my garden today and seeing what we've gone through this week to get a couple steps closer to spring and getting things going the way we need to. Please like and subscribe if you like this video, and as always, we'll catch you on the next video. Thank you for watching Apex Acres.